chance to win the NBA draft lottery, a 56% chance to pick up the top 3, but their ultimate fate, obviously, was 4th. The New York Post's back page saying it all, tanks for nothing. So take a look at the top 10. Wolves get the number 1. We see that. Lakers with 2, 76ers 3, Knicks 4. Magic rounding it out. Stephen A., we played a little bit of what you had to say last night. Knicks fans are not happy. So I'm going to let you go.
I'm going to try to keep my cool.
Please.
Skip Bayless, this hurts me the way you hurt when it comes to San Antonio. We all knew that the Knicks were an unmitigated disaster. We accepted that because we had no choice very, very early on. It was clear they weren't going to win too many basketball games. It was clear that the triangle offense was going to take some moments to grasp and ultimately for players to get adjusted to. But last night, when I'm in that room, because remember, I was one of the 12 media members that were invited into the room, and we were on lockdown. We knew what the outcome was of the draft lottery literally an hour before they brought the cards on to the podium, and you saw it on national TV. So we saw all of this. We saw the lawyers were there, security was there. I mean, Skip, it was to the point where, I mean, we weren't allowed to speak, weren't allowed to leave the room unless we had to go to the bathroom. When we went to the bathroom, we had to have an escort. We weren't allowed to talk to anybody. We weren't allowed to reveal any results whatsoever. We watched the ping pong balls. We watched Minnesota get the number 1 pick. The Lakers get the number 2 pick. Congratulations to the Lakers, by the way. Philadelphia get the number 3 pick. And I cannot tell you how excruciatingly painful that hour was waiting for it to come on the air because it sunk in. I was in the room with these guys when the Knicks ended up getting the 4th pick. I can't even tell you the level of misery I have felt and I'm still feeling. I barely slept last night because I'm just so disgusted with the New York Knicks. It's hard to put into words. You have a guy in Phil Jackson. This is the same Phil Jackson who basically everybody believed took the job just because of the money. I was happy he's there because he's an 11-time champion, and we needed this. We needed his presence. What happens in the aftermath of that? He moves Tyson Chandler just to get rid of Raymond Felton and brings back Jose Calderon. He gets rid of Iman Shumpert and J.R. Smith for 2 second-round picks and 2 trade exceptions, which to us amounts to about a box of cookies, okay? You sit up there, and Melo, you hoodwinked him into believing that you were going to try to win now, and you told us that the New York Knicks would be competing for a playoff spot fresh off of a 37-win season under Mike Woodson, who had won 54 games the year before and had taken them to the semifinals for the first time in 13 years as a franchise. You sold us on all of this, Phil Jackson. And yet, the New York Knicks somehow, regardless of their pathetic recent history over spanning the last decade, Skip Bayless somehow, some way, it's worse under Phil Jackson. Never in the history of the New York Knicks have they lost 60-plus games in a season. They lost 65 this year. You got a rookie coach in Derek Fisher who's never even been an assistant. Maybe he'll be a good coach, Skip. But guess what? He's never coached before. And by the way, if you're Phil Jackson, but Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook or LeBron James or Kobe or somebody was on this squad, are you trying to tell me that Phil Jackson is sitting on the sidelines instead of coaching? I don't think so. I'm sorry, instead of being an executive? I mean, come on now. I don't believe so. The man has made 2 road trips this year, Skip. You know where those 2 road trips were?
L.A.,
Clippers, and Lakers.
Yeah.
Last week, Skip, we're in Chicago for the Bulls-Cavs. The NBA pre-draft camp is in Chicago. Skip, all the executives, all the coaches, everybody goes there. Everybody's there. Phil Jackson is in Chicago. What are they talking about last night? Phil Jackson never showed up to the pre-draft. He was in Chicago. Never showed up. Steve Mills, somebody else was there. I mean, you got to be kidding me. And then the draft last night. If nothing else, Skip Bayless, you're the Zen master. You're the guy, the zen, the aura, all the things that make you you. I mean, things just seem to flow in your favor, Phil Jackson. Would you think that that level of karma was worth? I mean, you could have blessed us with your presence last night because you are getting paid $10 to $12 million. I mean, could you at least showed up and just sat there to hear, maybe, just maybe, you might have ended up getting one of the top 2 picks. No, Phil Jackson can't do that either. So you can't seem to pick talent. You can't seem to go out there and get a marquee free agent. Not yet, anyway. You can't build a roster. You don't want to pick a coach with experience. You don't want to coach. And then on top of it all, you don't even have the decency to show up and to make your presence felt so some level of karma can come our way.
Things are
okay.
You give him some
Let's
help.
go ahead. Let's go ahead.
Give him some medicine.
I realize you almost certainly will not now be able to draft either of the 2 centerpiece centers, Karl Anthony or Jaleel. Carrie's Lakers, on the other hand, another
Got
story.
it.
Bingo. And I feel a little bit of your pain there, Stephen A., but as your brother from another mother, as a man who loves you to a fault, I don't know why I put up with you, but it's I love you that much, and I do.
You love him that
yes,
much?
I do. So I'm going to figuratively put a little arm around your shoulder today, and I'm going to try to brighten your mood just a little bit by reminding you, who's your all-time favorite coach that you covered for years with the Sixers?
It's Larry Brown.
What's that?
It's Larry Brown.
Oh, Larry Brown.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry. So, Stephen A., I remind you that Larry Brown recruited a kid out of Dallas named Emmanuel Mudiay. And at that moment, Larry Brown said of Emmanuel Mudiay, who then went on to China to play because he couldn't get into SMU, he called him, if we could see this, the most special point guard I've ever seen at that age. He plays the right way, and God has given him incredible gifts. We all know the NBA is a point guard's league. And I will go on to say this point guard is 6 feet 5 inches tall. He's listed at 196, though he looks like now he's more like 205, maybe 208. A little bit of weight on. Yep. He's got that man body going, that NBA body going. And right now on Chad Ford's big board, guess what? Emmanuel Mudiay is there for your New York Knicks. Who's to say he might not turn out to be the best player in this draft? If, in fact, the Sixers, one spot ahead of you, take D'Angelo Russell out of Ohio State, another gifted point guard at about 6'5", and that's what Chad Ford thinks will happen. So if that does happen, maybe Phil Jackson will start to look like the Zen Master again. Maybe. I mean, you just don't know.
That could happen.
From that Larry Brown quote, the most gifted I've seen at that age, wow. I'm thinking that Emmanuel Mudiay, with 1 year of pro basketball experience in China, might just step right into Madison Square Garden and take it over and bring it back.
You're such a good friend to him.
Well,
you gave him what we call a little candy, and so he's happy about that. Yeah. So you're a good friend.
And I think it's good, like it's real candy.
Yeah.
It's not sugar-free, you know, like it's real,
it's
right?
a real deal.
It's a real deal.
It's some sweet.
Not that I would eat it, but, but still, it's like it's real candy that I gave him because that's something to hang on to. This draft is pretty deep here.
Right.
So, again, you're probably going to get...
Who do you think we take, Towns or Okafor? We can't go wrong either way.
But what the point here is, who does Minnesota take first?
Yeah.
And Chad Ford does make the point that the one team out there that might take Jaleel, just is interested in Jaleel, is Minnesota.
Okay.
Okay, I think Karl Anthony's going to be better. I think he blocks shots better. He's a much better shooter. He's a much better free throw shooter. Right. And he's a better big playmaker, end of game.
But you've been on him before. We've done that topic. So either way, I'm happy. I'll take either or. I'll take Okafor. I'll take Towns. I know that Laker Nation was extremely happy. So we'll get to that a little later on.
I'm going to guess you're going to have Okafor. I'm going to guess.
Yeah.
That's how it will shake out.
We will talk about Laker Nation, how happy they were, what it all means, what it looks for. I guess
Kobe's last ride is going to be fun and interesting.
It's good. Magic tweeted about it. Yep. Magic, if you're watching, we appreciate what you had to say. Now, when we come back from break, we're going to talk about Floyd Mayweather. Did you hear what he said recently?
Oh, did I? To a fault.
It's not his fault that the fight was boring. Yeah. He's blaming someone else. Who was he blaming? We will discuss it when we return.
Is presented by Bass Pro Shops. Your adventure starts here. And in part by USAA, proudly serving the financial needs of current and former military members and their families. and the makers of Dr. Scholl's Massaging Gel Insoles.
Don't miss Wednesday night baseball action when the Red Sox take on the Rangers. That's tonight at 7 on ESPN. And coverage of the Western Conference Finals continues tomorrow with Game 2. Rockets-Warriors. It all starts with Countdown, 8 Eastern on ESPN. Speaking of...